Chapter 29. I'm so done with this shit. Uh, Around this time, I had to get a lot of case law ready to go. I cranked more case law trying to fight the copyright situation, getting my evidence and witnesses together. I had Kristen Kevin Vincent, Kristen's baby daddy to her kids as witnesses to the facts of everything that had went down. Though the way it was explained to me by the court of the clerk that they were just gathering evidence, Shon Brennan still didn't answer the charges they would summons in April to participate in the court proceedings. Will Markland supposedly had put in an application for my trademark. This was later discovered, though it wouldn't have mattered because he wouldn't have been granted trademark because he couldn't show ownership. Let it be known, just before Shon Brennan dropped out of the face of the earth, he was served by a court marshal out a halfway house, and while he was being served, he jumped out of the window. Strictly what was told to me by a court marshal who witnessed him jumping out of a window running. If only I was a fly on the wall to see that great Kodak moment. The bitch was scared, for obvious reasons. Saunders manipulated more crap by trying to apologize for flipping, giving the reason his job security was being put at risk by helping me by this so-called foreigner. When originally he was being paid by me over $3,000 to do my paperwork only to supposedly be threatened by this foreigner. What a little puss. And little bitch. He used that lame excuse, but he pulled wool over my eyes when he knew exactly what he was doing into the deal of how long he would keep playing both sides. He is a sociopath with a long criminal background and drug addiction to cocaine. Throughout the ongoing con, he was playing. Not only did he manipulated me drop the lawsuit against YouTube due to their attorneys, which I ended up doing, I dropped the lawsuit against Walmart, and which was a major mistake, making me believe he would drop his application for my trademark when the facts, he didn't have a snowball's chance in hell to ever get my trademark since I was doing the show using that trademark since the middle 90s. I fell for the manipulation. When also the amount of copyright wasn't as much as it was with Shon Brennan. Thinking he could steal my trademark, he used that as bargaining chip against me when in fact he had no chance in hell of getting my trademark since I could fight it and use the name Gorgeous George Show. Michael Saunders led me to believe that Markland could take it, which I wasn't using basic logic, so I agreed to release Markland from copyright, which ended up to be a mistake only targeting Shon Brennan. Shon Brennan had more stuff against him in a copyright matter more so than Markland. Still, that bitch Saunders manipulated my insecurities by leading me to believe it was in my best interest when in fact looking back it wasn't. Saunders screwed up my case for me by just being there. Allegedly, he wanted to represent me like nothing ever happened, but I didn't let him, knowing it would be pure fuckery. Needless to say, more false information was given. Saunders was the only witness in the case because he ended up showing up, and what the judge had told me prior about waiting on the whereabouts of Shon was false information. I got railroaded, and if I would have known he would have tried it in the absence of my witnesses, I would have demanded a mistrial or extension or appeal. I got railroaded, and Saunders getting on stand only made it look like a circus, making things worse. Throughout the ruling, he ruled against me in making these imbeciles have a lifetime license to fuck with me when in fact that's the furthest thing from the truth. Repeatedly calling me a public figure when in fact I'm not in the least bit. These bitches ever since kept coming at me, attacking my father's name and trying to change the narrative. Yet these internet providers keeping using Section 230 saying they aren't responsible when in fact they are. Going against their own guidelines, doing nothing with the constant attacks and cyber attacks made to my family's surname. These bottom feeders continue changing the narrative, filling up the internet with more garbage hate and lies directed to me, severing connections and ties to others to the best of their ability, stealing my identity, pretending to be me, trying to contact others and sending emails pretending to be people in my camp. People I know through broken tidbits they get by tracking my phone and my whereabouts through a tracker to my GPS, and yet the police to this day still do nothing. Constant cyber attacks and belittle me and my achievements through my show and other business contacts. Stealing my show and stealing pictures through photoshopping techniques. These people who follow me take pictures and try to call places they see me at to get information such as the hotel I'm staying at and my storage unit where I keep my belongings. Using the line that I'm their uncle and they are trying to see if I'm okay or leave a message when they can contact me. Perhaps to even help pay for my bills. I have told these people at these places to mark it down and call the police when they do it and contact me so I can add it in the police report. Throughout, these bitches have made threats of going to my father's resting place and defecating on my father's gravesite and putting markings on my dad's grave and tombstone. The cemetery keeps records and have been informed of these criminal activities. It's later been proven that if they do go there, they Photoshop pictures and take pictures and leave, and yet not be caught. There is camera camouflaged on at the grave, and the camera for almost 2 years is blank. So a lot of these alleged activities seem to be just that, not actually happening, only to get a rise out of me. Also, supposedly, this beatnik person that occasionally follows me has supposedly poisoned Jamie's family against me. I have totally honored the mother's wishes and let her grieve on her own without bothering her. Though when I started getting emails of someone supposedly being her brother wanting to know information, it later was discovered one of two things transpired. That they constantly pretending to be the brother, or the brother bought into their shit of lies, saying a bunch of lies pertaining to his deceased sister and myself, making outlandish comments to the family saying I forced myself on her when in fact she lived with me and shared my bed. Making outlandish and twisted comments, in which they keep posting all around that in a domain in which they stole. GorgeousGeorgeShow.net website in which one Jeremy S. stole. Very unstable person who will be dealt with, or perhaps in a lawsuit. Still posting more rubbish. This person supposedly owns the domain and will be dealt with or sued. Throughout the end of 2019, these bitches heard that the show was being down at the library. Since it wasn't in a closed space and out in the opening at the library, these bitches took advantage of the situation. They camouflaged and got wind of when the show was being done. Knowing these bitches were trying to search for information, they went into the library pretending to be part of the public reading books when they were trying to sabotage my show and steal it, in which they did one of the shows. This little midget wearing a Raider football cap one night looked really suspicious. Actually, he looked scared out of mind sitting back there. When security pointed out he was the one asking information about me and my show, I only felt it was fitting to walk up where he was sitting and stare him down. He said, "How are you, sir?" I looked back at him and said, "Really?" I gave him a look to let him know that my eyes were on him, and it looked like he better not do anything with a stern look. I could tell that the midget was out of his league, knowing that I knew he was up to no good. That show in week 1 ended up in the trolled channel on YouTube. So I knew, in fact, the bitch was definitely up to no good. Adding to that, he had placed pictures from my house of me on the windshield of my car. Little did that bitch knew there was a camera that got his tags of his Dodge Ram 150 truck. The bitch and his tags were on candid camera. He was caught with his hand in the cookie jar. After the fact, I knew that these bitches were trying to ruin all of my shows. I decided to not run them on the transmitter and just shoot them off my camcorder like if it was pre-recorded. That didn't sit well with Kevin, but to this day it still doesn't sit well with Kevin and he doesn't get it. I was forced to do the only thing I knew, possibly was pre-recording the show so they couldn't put their grubby hands on it until I was ready to release it myself. Trying desperately to steal my production and call it their own. To take my production, slash my logo and put their disgusting titles to it and steal my copyrighted show. The following week, that ass, Saunders, and his husband was there with their phones out. I told them to leave or they would be escorted off the premises. Saunders started getting louder and was definitely saying he was there to meet someone else there. I said, "Bullshit. You are going to record my show." Got security to remove his tub of shit lard ass along with his lover off the property for recording my show. It ended with me filling me with a bottle of Lysol and hand ready to blind his ass. Right before he left, he made mention of me being diabetic, which again is a narrative he and those other trolls keeping spewing the same garbage since I recently developed arthritis. Big difference, but still a narrative they keep spewing. Someone else that night was filming him at the library. Another troll who also was trying to film, but they didn't get any part of the show since it was being pre-recorded. He was asked to leave by security. So the rest of the shows for 2019 ended up that way, pre-recorded so they couldn't record from the transmitter. Though after their fuckery yet again, they then pretending to be local retired news affiliated from local Channel 6, Mark Holmberg, saying he was going to write a story saying I was homophobic and I threw out a gay couple out of the library. Again saying this, what those bitches didn't know, that I spoke to the real Mark Holmberg and he had no knowledge of any contact or story since he is officially retired. The person kept emailing impersonated as Holmberg and I played their game telling them I finally spoke to the real Mark Holmberg and their little scheme fell short. After going through that, I went to Channel 6 and was ready to speak to Mr. Hughes, who had Holmberg's old job, and they were on the verge of doing a story on internet cyberstalking and the law, how the local police need to get educated on this matter. It's something that was in the works, but I pursued because of my long hours of working and finding no time for myself, just being overwhelmed with all of this bullshit that these imbeciles did. Another lie, along with trying to interview Matt allegedly and manufactured a lawsuit from Jamie's parents, which was totally bogus. Once and all, to put an end to my wondering whether her parents were being bothered or not, I sent a certified letter to Jamie's mother. Only one trying to explain the situation and how these bottom feeders found out information about me and Jamie's relationship. I apologized and said that I have honored her wishes, just wanted her to know that it had nothing to do with what those cyberstalkers were doing. No response, but she did respond, with a signature back. Then supposedly with the brother knowing I wrote his mother, which tells me that he bought into these people's worship. Though I had to know for sure if I was talking to the brother or a troll. So supposedly it was the brother and how he would constantly email me when I tried to explain to him about these bottom feeders, though again bought into it and intercepted the letter I gave to his mother. At this point though, the lawsuit angle was a lot of horseshit and made prefabricated fairy tale made up by the trolls.